The youth of this country are facing a lot of problems right now. What used to work before doesn't work the same now. And the youth have no platform to go and find answers. This is what this platform aims to solve. This platform called the Youth Playbook.
Who are you?
I am Sebenzile. Like many of the youth today, I found myself having no direction. Funny enough, I have a story where in grade 11, that's the only time I found out about SETAs, colleges, and all these other options that I had instead of varsity. Now, what I was told from grade 8 up until grade 12 was varsity was the most important thing. But sometimes you might find that the people who go to the SETAs and the colleges are much better off than people who go to varsities. Because you see, the world isn't the same anymore. Now, who am I? Well, I'm a person who studied electrical engineering and somehow ended up in the film and media side with my own company, Still Peak Studios. This shows how I had no direction, meaning I wanted to express myself, but then didn't know how to. And that is part of why I decided to create this platform.
Why is the podcast called Youth Playbook?
Now, the way I understand it, a playbook is what you can call a manual. Say we have a sport, right? Let me say this is the playbook on how we are going to play this game or play the sport. So now, taken from the sports context to bring onto the life, how can we play the game of life in essence? And then now this podcast or community will then be your playbook or your rulebook, your manual on how you can move and gain direction in life on your way or path to attain success, which is then why it's called the playbook, but then with a focus on youth, being total called the Youth Playbook.
So what is this platform all about, the Youth Playbook?
Now, the Youth Playbook, essentially where the name comes from, is that this is the place where the youth come and find answers to the questions that they have on how to gain success within their lives. So that's what the playbook is about. It's your manual for life, your manual for success, in essence. So that is the Youth Playbook. And where it comes from is from my own journey. Like I said, from grade 8 up until grade 12, I didn't have any knowledge about SETAs or what different things. The only thing I knew was that go to varsity and you get a job. But now, in this country, South Africa, we have high unemployment rate, as we all know. And we also have people saying that the youth were not employable. Those are just some of the many different things that we come across. That's why we then feel powerless. So this podcast aims to solve that problem on youth powerlessness, how to become less powerless. So then that touches on the three things that this podcast will be aiming to solve. Number one being no direction, not knowing what to do. Firstly, because you don't know yourself, which is normal. From the ages of 16 to 25, you're navigating the world. That's normal to not know yourself, but then you hit upon responsibilities without figuring out yourself on how to go. So that's no direction. Second part is limited access to opportunities. Even if you know where you want to go, you have an inkling of what you want to do, you don't know what to do, how to access it. You might not even know if it's possible to do that. So that's access to opportunities. And thirdly, there's no community. Now, let me specify what I mean by no community. When it comes to no community, the main thing I like to refer to is that we all have our own role models on the screen. We can look through, maybe I become your role model, look through me on the screen, you say that I relate to this guy so much.
Sure.
But then come across, you're speaking next to a stranger and you can't even say a word. You're antisocial, you're anxious, you're this and that. So we don't have a community, we don't have people where we can go to and speak to and say that I need this advice, I need help on this, I need help on that. That is what it means, there's no community. And that is what this playbook or podcast looks to cover and help you with.
How do you think this podcast will help the community?
Within the communities that we live in, once again, tackling these three problems of that there's no direction and no access to opportunities, we don't feel like we have a community around us. So how this will help the community is in essence that it will help to bridge the gap between generations, because I think that is the thing that is destroying or is the thing that's lacking in today's time, is that I can speak to someone of much older generation, but we might be saying the same thing or intending to say the same thing, but we don't understand what we're speaking about, because you find that the older generation grew up in a time before freedom, number one, or they grew up in a time before technology, so they had a life before that. Whereas with us, we grew up in a time with technology, after freedom. So the references they make or the way they think about the world is completely different to what we see, what we do, or how we see the world. So it will help in the community mainly with bridging the gap. And in bridging the gap, then now you can go and ask someone and say, someone much older than you with more experience, with more wisdom, ask them, how do I solve this? How do I solve that? So one thing I've found in my business ventures and trying to do different things is that most everyone is trying to help the youth figure out a way to help the youth. But then the thing that may be a problem is that there is no bridge between the generations.
What type of guest will you be bringing on?
Now, the guests I'm looking to have are split up into three. Number one would be then senior executives, people within the companies, the big businesses who are executives and decision makers in those companies. That is so that they can say, these are the people in the workspaces that I'm getting, these are the things that we are seeing, these are the structures that are set up. How then do the youth try and get into these things? They're the people with the know-how, see, who make the decisions, who say that, okay, the youth, this is what I have, this is how the structure is set up, this is how you can get in, this is what you need to do, these are the steps you need to follow. So that is the first tier. Now, the second tier would then be up and coming businesses and people who are trying their own things, trying to make their own move, make their own impact within the community. So what things do they see within those communities, the communities that they're helping? What things do they see? How do they see things playing out? That is then the second tier. And lastly, the third tier would be then the youth, mainly because we can't be speaking about the youth but not have the youth on the podcast. So this would then be SRCs, SFCs, but also student chapters and training institutes, people who deal with the youth and have them come on the playbook and say that this is my issues, this is what I've been trying to do, this is my problem, or this is what I'm seeing, or I want to do this in the world, but I don't know the opportunities, so that we can have a full-on community that touches on this is how the youth can do this, starting from the executives, but also this is what the youth, this is what we want to do, but we're having problems with this and that, so that we can more effectively bridge the gap between the generations.
So what will be the recording formats?
When it comes on the recording formats, we're starting off now with podcasting. That is our first recording format. But then moving on from there, we're looking to have masterclasses and panels where we're able to then have the youth speaking and guests as well in the industry, and have a platform where the youth can come on and say that I have this problem, I have that problem, I'm looking to solve this, I'm looking to solve that, and then the panel answer. But then also from those panels, then another thing we're also looking to get into is that these panelists may have businesses, may have training institutes, may have this, we have a mentoring program, maybe also run some competitions here and there to then foster and trying to create more initiatives. So that's that. Then there's masterclasses as well, where we have our guests who run masterclasses through this platform who come on and they educate on that. This is how maybe you write a CV, because this is a new thing as well, that is ATS systems now which use AI to read your CV, and that we may not even know how to write CVs. That's another potential master class that we can have. But all in all, I don't have a set way or recording format of how I want to say this. What I want to do is provide an impact in the community, and whatever suggestions or things you might have in the comments or within our platforms, is that how about you guys try this? How about you guys try this in my community? This I think this would be helpful. We're open to suggestions. My main point is that we're looking to provide an impact, and however that happens, I'm good with it.
And how can people get access or get in touch with you or the podcast partner?
Now, on the podcast, we'll be having our own social media platforms, and mainly being YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So we'll be having those channels. On the description of every episode on our YouTube video, you can send an email there, YouTube about, you find the email, send an email there. Or you can find also on Instagram, the bio, the email, or send a DM, send a comment, and that is then how you can get access or try and make an impact, your type of impact onto the podcast.
Sebenzile, you mean impressive stuff. So basically this youth playbook, it's what's going to help youth understand, sort of like a guide in terms of how to resolve things that they need, essential skills moving forward. Is that how this is going to work?
Exactly that. That's what this platform aims to, covering on what is education, what are the different types of degrees or accreditations and qualifications you can get in order to move yourself forward. Maybe you want to start your own business. What things do you need to look out for, registration, compliance-wise, and that's what we'll then be touching on. And also issues within the community of this issue, of that issue. How do you navigate that? How do you bridge different generations? Trying to build all of that where we can then, as the youth of South Africa, have a place where we can come to say, okay, I have this problem. Let me check if they have any episodes on this, that. If they haven't, you then reach out and say, I have this problem, I have that problem. Can you guys help me with this? Then we try and help you with that. Otherwise, we look through a catalog and say, okay, we have this, we have that. So if you'd like to then get in touch or try and be a part of this, then you can follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook pages, our TikTok pages. But most importantly, stay tuned to our YouTube channel, because that's where we'll be releasing a podcast which shows the in-depth analysis of what's happening and how you can do this and that in order to further your studies. So, of course, stay tuned.
That's right.
We agree that youth of this country are facing a lot of problems, and one of them is unemployment. And when we talk about employment, everyone says we must go to school. Do we then believe by saying youth must still go to school? And is there still an importance of young people still going to school? And if they go to school, are we then saying, yes, school does work? Can we have testimonies? Because as a young person, I'm at school, but I know the high number of unemployment is there. At the same time, there is no one who comes and stand and say, yes, school works and this is what I've achieved through schooling. Now the youth are here saying they are looking for a playbook. So you as audience, what do you think?